Good day everyone, I'm James Edlin Polanco and I'm here to present the chapter 13 with the topic Motivation at Work. The title of my presentation is The Power of Motivation for a Productive Workplace. For today's discussion, our objectives are: number 1, describe the basic model of performance. Number 2, discuss motivation and human needs. Number 3, identify the basic process model of motivation and describe an integrative model of motivation. And number 4, describe other related theories and perspective on motivation. Let's us know the meaning of motivation. Motivation indicates how an employee will exert on his or her effort, like a reason or incentives. Organization must motivate employees to expend effort aimed at accomplishing various positive outcomes. Basic model of motivation. The basic needs model referred to as a content theory of motivation increase the highlights of the specific factor that motivate an individual. Although these factors are found within an individual, things outside in the individual can affect him or her as well. In short, all people have needs and they want to be satisfied. The model of motivation starts from a need or expectation and end with feedback on individual satisfaction regarding to his or her needs. Motivation as a process. Motivation it is a process by which a person's efforts are energized, directed, and sustained towards attaining the goal. So there are three types of motivation: energy, direction, and persistence. So motivation works best when individual needs a compatible and or with the organizational goal. What are the qualities of motivation? The qualities of motivation are to energize the behavior, directs the behavior, enable to persistence toward a goal, and exist in varying details. There are three things to determine the performance. It is the ability to perform, the environmental context, and the motivation to perform. The environment context includes such as things as equipment, machinery, materials, information, and other support factors. Human resource managers play a role in developing some of these factors to enhance individual performance. The organization selection and training mechanism should ensure that every worker in a position has the ability to perform their job. While many employees have the ability to perform well, others utilize increased effort to perform the work. Either the ability or motivation can compensate for the other factors to some degree. Motivation and human needs. In this topic, I'm going to discuss the needs and different motivation theories. So, motivation and needs. All individuals have needs that motivate them to action. Need are on the base theories of motivation show how people are motivated to satisfy various work-related needs. And the other needs is about the theory of Maslow. The Maslow hierarchy of needs. This theory of motivation is widely studied and covers various needs in a hierarchical model. The needs are arranged in the following order from the bottom to top. We know that physiological needs, security needs, social needs, esteem needs, and the self-actualization needs. For types of needs, There are many needs which an individual may have, and there are various ways in which this may be classified. Needs may be natural, biological phenomenon in an individual, or this may be developed over the period of time through his learning or experience. Since these two types of needs emerge from two different sources, this may be satisfied by different types of incentive. Thus, needs may be grouped into three categories: the primary needs, secondary needs, and the general needs. Primary needs are also known as physiological, biological, basic, or unlearned needs. However, the term primary is more comprehensive as compared to other terms. Primary needs are animal drive, which are essential for survival. These needs are common to all human beings through their intensity and may be deeper. Some of the needs are example of this is the food, the sex, the sleep, the air to breathe, satisfactory temperature, and etc. Secondary needs are not natural, but they are learned by the individual through his experience or interaction. Therefore, these are also called learned or derived needs. The emergence of these needs are depend on their learning. There may be a different types of secondary needs like need for power, achievement, status, affiliation, and etc. And last is general need. There are a number of needs which lie in between the primary and secondary classification. A need must not be learned, but at the same time, it is not completely physiological. There are certainly such needs like the need for competence, curiosity, manipulation, affection, and more. There are lots of theories about motivation. So here are some of the famous theories regarding or studying the motivation of human needs. Motivation theories are have two classes, and we can distinguish it between the content and process motivation theories. Content theories focus on what, while process theories focus on how human behavior is motivated. Content theories are the earliest theories of motivation, while the work environment they have had is the greatest impact on management practice and policy. While within academic circle, they are the least accepted. Content theories are also called needs theories. They are trying to identify what are our needs are and related in motivation to fulfilling our needs. The content theories cannot entirely explain what motivate or demotivate us, but the process theories are concerned with how motivation occurs and what kind of process can influence our motivation. The main content theories are the following. For example, the Maslow needs hierarchy, other per ERG theory, McClellan achievement motivation, Herzberg two-factor theory, and more. Our first theory is about the principle of scientific management by Frederick Taylor. Taylor philosophy focused on the belief that making people work as hard as they could was not as inefficient as optimizing the way the work was done. In 1909, Taylor published the Principles of Scientific Management. In this, he proposed that by optimizing and simplifying jobs, productivity would increase. He also advanced the idea that workers and managers need to cooperate with one another. This was very different from the way work was typically done in a business beforehand. A factory manager at the time had a very little detailed contact with the workers, and he left them on their own to produce the necessary product. There was no standardization, and a worker's main motivation was often continue employment. So there was no incentive to work as quickly or as efficiently as possible. Taylor believed that all workers were motivated by money, so he promoted the idea of a fair day, pay for fair day work. In other words, if the worker did not achieve enough in day, he did not deserve to be paid as much as another worker who was highly productive. The time and motion study also by Taylor to conclude that certain people could work more efficiently than others. These are the people whom managers should seek to hire where possible. Therefore, selecting the right people for the job was another important part for workplace efficiency. Taking what he learned from this workplace experiment, Taylor developed four principles of scientific management. These principles are also known simply Taylorism. So here are the principles of Taylor. Number one, replace working by rule thumb or simply habit the common sense and instead use the scientific method to study the work and determine the most efficient way to perform specific tasks. Number two, rather than simply assign workers to adjust any job, match workers to their jobs based on their capability and motivation, and train them work at maximum efficient. Number three, monitor worker performance and provide instruction and supervision to ensure that they are using the most efficient ways of working. And last is allocate the work between managers and workers so that the managers spend their time planning and training, allowing the workers to perform their tasks efficiently. Mm. But we should also understand that these principles have Taylor's um, criticism. They say that it's too simplistic, employees motivate in other ways, unfulfilled work, no increase in effectiveness and or productivity, or difficult in measuring employee output. The second theory is about the theory of human motivation by Abraham Maslow. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a popular way of thinking about people needs. Published by Abraham Maslow in his 1943 article, A Theory of Human Motivation. This theory contends that humans strive to meet our most basic need. We also seek to satisfy a higher set of needs. Maslow presents this set of needs as a hierarchy consisting of physiological or bodily needs, safety needs, love and belonging needs, self-esteem, self-actualization, or the desire to be all that you can be. The theory argues that the most fundamental levels start with the physiological need for foods, water, and shelter. This followed by security and social needs. Maslow believed that higher level needs such as self-esteem and self-fulfillment can only be met after the lower level needs have to be satisfied. The third theory is about Frederick Herzberg, and his theory is the two-factory theory. Before that, I have a question to all, and I want you think which is the most important question that related to Herzberg theory. And the answer is the fourth question is an important question because it is at the root of motivation. Herzberg asked the same question in his time in 1950s and 60s as means of understanding employee satisfaction. He set out to determine the effect of attitude on motivation by asking people to describe the situation where they felt really good or really bad about their jobs. What he found was that people who felt good about their jobs gave very different response from the people who um, felt bad on their jobs. Herzberg findings revealed that certain characteristics of a job are consistently related to job satisfaction, while different factors are associated with job dissatisfaction. In his two-factor theory, Herzberg identified two sets of factors that impact motivation in the workplace. This is the hygiene factors or factors for dissatisfaction. It includes the salary, job security, working condition, organizational cost, and dissatisfaction if they are missing. Something as simple as adding music to the office place or implementing a no smoking policy can make people less dissatisfied with this aspect of their work. However, these improvement in hygiene factors do not necessarily increase satisfaction. Satisfier or motivation or factors for satisfaction include that these things are responsibility, achievement, growth, opportunities, and feelings of recognition. And the key to job satisfaction and motivation. For example, managers can find out that people do in their jobs and make improvement, thus increasing job satisfaction and performance. In his conclusion, job satisfaction and job dissatisfaction are not opposite. The opposite of satisfaction is no satisfaction. The opposite of dissatisfaction is no dissatisfaction. How we can apply this theory in our work? According to this theory, if you want to apply this, you need to adopt a two-stage process to motivate people. You need to eliminate the dissatisfaction they are experiencing, and second is you need to help them find satisfaction. Here are the two steps. Step number one, eliminate job dissatisfaction. Fix poor and obstructive company policies, provide effective, supportive, and non-instructive supervision, create an support and culture, and respect the dignity for all team members, ensure that wages are competitive, build job status by providing meaningful work for all positions, and provide job security. Step number two, create conditions for job satisfaction, providing opportunities for achievement, recognizing people contribution, creating work that is rewarding and that matches people's skills and abilities. Next is giving as much responsibility to each team member as possible. Next is providing opportunities to advance in the company through internal promotion. And last is offering training and development opportunities so that people can pursue the position they want within the company. The fourth theory is about the theory of X and Y by Douglas MacGregor. The idea that managers' attitude has an impact on employees' motivation was originally proposed by Douglas MacGregor, a management professor during his time on 1950s, 60s, and his book was published in the year 1960 with the title The Human Side of Enterprise. MacGregor proposed two theories by which managers perceive and address employee motivation. He referred these opposing motivational methods as the theory X and the theory Y of management. Each assumes that the manager's role is to organize resources, including people, to best benefit the company. However, beyond this community, the attitudes and assumptions they embody are quite different. The theory X and Y. According to McGregor, theory X management assumes the following: working in distasteful to most people, and they will be attempt to avoid work whenever possible. Most people are not ambitious, have little desire for responsibility, and prefer to be directed. Most people have little aptitude for creativity in solving organization problems. Motivation occurs only in a physiological and security level of Maslow hierarchy of needs. Most people are self-centered. As a result, they must be closely controlled and often to achieve organizational objectives. Most people resist change, and last is most people are gullible and attainable. Especially, Theory X assumes that primary source of employee motivation is monetary, with security as a strong second, and under Theory X, one can take hard or soft approach to getting resolved. In theory Y, the higher level needs a esteem and self-actualization are ongoing needs that, for most people, are never completely satisfied. As such, it is this higher level needs a through which employees can be motivated. In strong contrast to theory X and theory Y, management makes the following assumption. Work can be as natural as play if the conditions are favorable. People will be self-directed and creative to meet their work and organizational objectives if they are committed to them. People will be committed to their quality of productivity objectives if rewards are in place that address higher needs such as self-fulfillment. The capacity of creativity spreads throughout the organization. Most people can handle responsibility because of creativity and ingenuity are common in the population. Under this condition, people will seek responsibility. Under this assumption, there are an opportunity to align personal goal with organizational goals by using the employee own need for fulfillment as the motivator. Mark Greger stressed that theory Y management does not imply a soft approach. McGregor recognized that some people may not have reached the level of maturity assumed by theory Y and may initially need tighter control that can be relaxed as the employee develops. In addition, according to McGregor, if theory Y holds true, an organization can apply the following principle of scientific management to improve employee motivation. Number one, decentralization and delegation. If firms decentralize control and reduce the number of levels of management, managers will have more subordinates and consequently need to delegate some responsibility and decision making to them. Next is job enlargement. Broadening the scope of employee jobs adds variety of opportunities to satisfy ego needs. The third is participative management. Consulting employees in the decision-making process taps their creative capacity and provides them with some control over their work environment. And last is performance appraisals. Having the employees set objectives and participate in the process of self-evaluation increase the engagement and dedication. If properly implemented, such as an environment can increase and continually fuel motivates the employee work or jobs to satisfy their higher level personal needs through their tasks. The next theory is about the ERG theory by Clayton Alderberg. In this picture, I want you all see the relationship of Maslow and Heidelberg theory. ERG theory is extension of Maslow needs hierarchy, wherein Maslow 5 needs are categorized into 3 categories. These are the ERG, existence, relatedness, and growth. This theory was published and organized by the Behavior and Human Performance. ERG theory expanded the Maslow hierarchy of needs by categorizing the hierarchy into his ERG theory of motivation. This is the existence, relatedness, and growth. He categorized the lower order of physiological and safety needs into existence category, about the love and esteem needs into a relatedness category, and the growth category contained the self-actualization and self-esteem needs. He then proposed the regression theory to go along with the ERG theory. He said that when needs in a higher category are not met, then the individuals redouble the effort invested in a lower category need. For example, if self-actualization or self-esteem is not met, then individuals will invest more effort in the relatedness category in the hopes of achieving the higher need. For explanation, existence needs is compromise all those needs that relate to physiological and safety aspect of human being and are prerequisite for the survival. Both the physiological and safety needs of Maslow are grouped into category because of their same nature and similar impact on the behavior of an individual. Related need, related need or relatedness needs. This relatedness needs refer to social needs that an individual seeks to establish relationship with those for whom he cares. These needs cover the Maslow's social needs and a part of esteem needs derived from a relation with other people. And last is growth needs. The growth needs cover Maslow's self-actualization need as well as part of esteem needs, which are internal to the individual such as feeling of being unique, personal growth, etc. Thus, the growth needs are those needs are influence an individual to explore his maximum potential in existing environment. In addition, the model also suggests that individuals can move up and down the level. The next theory is about the three needs theory created by David McClellan. Three needs theory was developed by David McClellan in his 1961 book, The Achieving Society. The three needs that he identified were a need for achievement, a need for affiliation, a need for a power. McClellan believes that we all have these three needs in some form of another, regardless of age, gender, race, or cultural origin. Each individual's needs are learned through their life experience and are not innate at birth. This is why the theory is also sometimes called theory needs theory or learned needs theory. And now, for better understanding, I will explain about the three types of needs in McClellan theory. First, achievement. The person who is motivated by shared achievement is usually one who will relish in the opportunity to both set and accomplish goal. This is many ways to ideal attitude for an employee to have, motivated simply by the process of finishing their work in a manner that they are proud of. An achievement-motivated employee is unlikely to need much in the way of external motivation. He said that this type of person will usually appreciate the feedback and praise that comes with a job review. Although there's usually driven or thrive with working on an individual basis rather than a part of team. This person can be extremely valuable member of your organization. In affiliation motivated person, this next person is the opposite of the person who is motivated by achievement, rather than wanting to work alone in order to feel the sense of accomplishment that comes along with a job well done. The person motivated by affiliation wants to work as part of a group. They are not necessarily attracted to the idea of receiving praise and recognition for their work, rather they want to be part of the club, meaning they want have to hand in the project and be accepted by others in the group. If your business is one of that requires high level of teamwork and cooperation across the staff, having employees that fit into the mold is going to be an advantage. With trying to facilitate teamwork, it can be hard to keep the people happy who are motivated by individual achievement and success rather than the progress of the group. When someone is happy to just be affiliated and contribute their part to the greater good, the process of collaboration runs more efficiently. For the power-motivated person. The title of category says it all. This person is motivated by power. They want to control the others in the group and they are motivated by the opportunity to do so. This is the kind of person who will thrive in rather than run away from a competitive environment. If you have number of people in your staff who fit into the profile, it may be the best to let them fight it out, meaning allowing them to compete in going bring out the best of them in a daily basis. Unlike the person would just want to be affiliated with success. This person wants to lead successful team and be recognized for the effort. Status plays a big part of keeping this type of person motivated. So things like job titles are going to be effective motivators. Someone motivated by power can be perfect for a certain roles within an organization while being suited for other tasks. Make sure that this type of person wins up in the right space for their mindset and attitude for important in their long-term productivity. Our last theory is about the expectancy theory by Victor Brooms. Bloom expectancy theory is stated that individuals are going to select their behavior based on the outcome that they expect as a result of those behavior. As a simple example, imagine one of your employees arriving for work in the morning. As the days begin, they have two basic options. They can be choose to work hard all day long or going above and beyond what is expected in order to help the company grow. Or alternatively, they can do just enough to get by meeting the requirements but going no further. With which path are they going to choose? Most likely, they are going to select the path that makes most sense for them as an individual based on the rewards available. If the rewards for working hard and working just hard enough to get by the exact the same, most people are going to choose to do as a little possible. After all, what is the motivation to work harder? Only when rewards that are proportional to the effort given are available will your employees truly have motivation to strive for their best. There are three variables laid out within this theory: the expectancy, the instrumentality, and the valence. Below, we will look at each these three variables in great details. Expectancy. The expectancy has their job relates to how much they believe that their effort will result to desired performance goal. In other words, if you set goals for your team to reach, they should be believed that working hard is going to allow them to reach their goal for successfully. There needs to be a direct correlation between effort and success with regards to performance. Next is instrumentality. Speaking of achieving goals, this next variable is the belief that reward will be waiting when a goal is met. It's one thing for your employees to have goals set in front of them, but it is another thing that there is a tangible motivation to hit those goals. The most obvious example of this kind of motivation is increasing their salary or pay. Valence. When dangling potential perform award in front of your people, you need to be sure that the reward which is offered is something that actually valued by the workers. They are only going to be motivated to work hard toward the reward you have offered if they actually want that reward in the first place. Of course, pay increase or bonuses are pretty safe, but even those might not be as attractive for some worker as other. For further understanding for the three variables, here is a short video.
Hi, you are watching Vroom's expectancy theory. Vroom's expectancy theory seeks to explain what motivates people to choose one option over another. Vroom's theory is based on three factors. 1. Expectancy. The level of an employee is willing to exert in hopes that the increased effort will result in better performance. 2. Instrumentality. The belief that as you perform well that a valued outcome will be received. 3. Valence. The importance that the individual places upon the expected outcome. Vroom concludes that the force of motivation in an employee can be calculated using a formula. Motivation equals to valence times instrumentality times expectancy. Let's make it understand with two situations.
I think Arpita has the ability to take our next project. She is doing a good job. Peter, you did very well in your last project. I will give you one more project tomorrow. If you perform well and finish the project within 7 days, you will be rewarded with promotion.
Yes. It's a good opportunity for me. I don't want to miss that. If I work hard, anything is possible.
This is known as expectancy. Employee thinks that if she works hard, her effort will lead to better performance.
I like the reward. If I can accomplish this project, I will be rewarded. Last month, my boss gave me a reward for my good performance.
So, this is known as instrumentality. She thinks that, if she works hard for the next project, her performance will lead to outcomes. The more projects will she get, more reward she will receive.
Oh no! Too much work.
But, I can handle it. I will do this project. The reward is valuable to me. If I come into office earlier, I can get more work done. Then I'll definitely get raise. Not to mention that, I'll beat my colleagues out of that promotion.
So, this is known as valence. She is highly motivated by the reward. The outcome is desirable. If she can achieve the reward, she will be satisfied. So, if someone perceives that all of these is true, then Vroom's expectancy theory suggests that employee is highly motivated. Let's see the situation 2.
Mr. Fehan, you are doing good. I'll give you another project tomorrow. If you perform well and finish the project within 7 days, you will be rewarded with $3,000.
I like the reward. But, will I ever complete the task within a week? Even if I try, I can never complete this project.
This is known as expectancy. Employee B thinks that, will his efforts lead to high performance to achieve the outcomes?
Well, last month I accomplished a project work but haven't received the reward yet. Will they ever give the reward?
So, this is known as instrumentality. He thinks that, whether his performance will lead to any outcome or reward.
Is $3,000 worth all the hard work, so much of work? Is it possible to finish the work within 7 days?
So, this is known as valence. Basically, employee B thinks that, all the hard work would lead the reward desirable or not. So, understanding the situation, if someone perceives that any one of these is true, then Vroom's expectancy theory suggests that employee B is not motivated.
For process theories of motivation. Process theories shows that how individuals become motivated to perform on the job. Reinforcement theory. Reinforcement theory assumes that behavior is a function of its consequences. And these are the 3 components: the stimulus, the response, and the outcome. The stimulus indicates contextual factor that precedes behavior. The response is the displayed behavior, and the outcome is the associated consequence of behavior. If an employee works hard and as a direct result receives a reward, then she or he is more likely to work hard in his future. This theory suggests that how hard people will work is based on the strength of the link they see between hard work and obtaining desired outcome. The principles of reinforcement are about the 3 concepts. The first is the positive, the extinction, and the punishment. Positive reinforcement involves providing the employee with favorable outcome so that the conduct is likely to be repeated. Extinction involves providing no outcome so that the conduct eventually disappears. And last is punishment involves providing the employee with an unfavorable outcome so that the conduct is not repeated. What is behavior modification? Behavior modification occurs when a manager uses outcome to shape individual behavior in the organization. Managers can inadvertently rebuild or reward those who perform undesirable jobs poorly by assigning such work to those who perform undesirable jobs as well. Extinction can be more positive way to reduce unfavorable behaviors that punishment and extinction just takes more time. Behavior modification is more effective when there is a profound connection between conduct and outcomes. Reinforcement schedule. A schedule of reinforcement is basically a rule of stating which instance of behavior will be reinforced. In some cases, a behavior might be reinforced every time it occurs. Sometimes a behavior might not be reinforced at all. Reinforcement schedules take place in both naturally occurring learning situations as well as more structured training situations. In real-world settings, behavior are probably not going to be reinforced every time they occur. It's situations where you are intentionally trying to reinforce a specific action, such as in school, sports, or in animal training. You will follow a specific reinforcement schedule. The two types of reinforcement schedules are the continuous reinforcement and partial reinforcement. Continuous. In continuous, the desired behavior is reinforced every single time it occurs. This schedule is best used during initial stage of learning to create strong association between the behavior and response. Partial reinforcement, once the response is firmly established, a continuous reinforcement schedule is usually switched to a partial reinforcement schedule. In partial, the response is reinforced only part of the time. Learned behaviors are acquired more slowly with partial reinforcements, but the response is more resistant to extinction. For interval schedules, it means that outcomes are administered on the basis of time. There are two types of interval schedules. The number one is fixed interval schedule, means that the amount of time is constant over time. And another one is variable interval schedule. The amount of time can change over time. For ratio schedules of reinforcement, there are two categories. Number one, the fixed ratio schedules. The number of repeated behaviors that cause an outcome stays constant. And next is the variable ratio schedules. The number of repeated behaviors that cause an outcome change over time. So for further understanding, I prepared a video for this topic.
In this video, we will be discussing reinforcement.
Reinforcement is a stimulus or event that increases the likelihood a behavior will be repeated.
For example, Johnny needs to clean his room. His mother knows he loves cake and offers the incentive that if Johnny cleans his room, he will receive a piece of cake. Johnny will continually clean his room after that, since he knows that every time he does, he will receive cake.
Reinforcement was coined by B.F. Skinner in his infamous Skinner box. Skinner placed a rat inside a box with a lever that they could press to release food. Through a process called shaping, Skinner trains the rats to learn to push the lever whenever they wanted to eat. From there, the rats continued to push the lever knowing that they were going to get a reward.
This led to Skinner's idea of operant conditioning. Operant conditioning is a learned association between a response and a stimulus.
Skinner achieved his result by using different schedules the rats had to follow. These became known as intermittent schedules. These are different ways to reinforce a certain behavior.
The first schedule we will talk about is fixed ratio. This is when reinforcement is on a predictable schedule that is based off the number of correct responses made. Think of it this way. Fixed means not moving or changing, and a predictable schedule does not change. Likewise, ratios deal with numbers like in math, so every time there is a ration schedule, it is referring to the number of responses made. For example, Randy works in a factory building toy horses. For every 10 horses he makes, he receives $1,000.
A vario-ratio schedule is an unpredictable schedule that is based on the correct number of responses made. The number of responses needed for each time for reinforcement varies, unlike fixed ratio. Think of the word variable as similar to the word varies, meaning no single definite answer or unpredictable. For example, Sally is in an arcade. She wants to play the ticket winner game. The grand prize is 500 tickets. Sally knows she will hit the jackpot, but she does not know how many coins she will have to put in order to receive the prize.
A fixed interval schedule is where the first response is awarded only after a specified amount of time has elapsed. Fixed schedules are predictable, like fixed ratio, but interval schedules deal with time rather than the correct number of responses made. Intervals are used to describe measurements of time, so think of interval schedules as dealing with the time elapsed during reinforcement. For example, Ronald works in a business firm on salary. He knows that he will receive his paycheck of $5,000 every 2 weeks despite any overtime.
A variable interval schedule is where a response is awarded after an unpredictable amount of time has passed. For example, Samantha's teacher assigns the class homework nightly, but checks off their work randomly. Since Samantha does not know when the homework will be collected, she makes sure to always have their homework done to avoid getting a zero.
In conclusion, there are 4 reinforcement schedules: fixed ratio, fixed interval, variable ratio, and variable interval. Remember that fixed means predictable, while variable means unpredictable. Also, ratio is the number of correct responses, and interval is the amount of time. These schedules are used to encourage behavior to continue or to stop. Thank you so much for watching.
Created using Powtoon.
Expectancy theory suggests that people are motivated to engage in behavior if they perceive that those behaviors are likely to lead to outcomes that they value. Employees who believe that their hard work will lead to attainment of rewards that they value will be more likely to work hard. If employees do not see that rewards are tied to increased performance, or if outcomes associated with increased performance are not attractive, there will be a little motivation to work harder. The expectancy theory. Effort to performance expectancy believes that increased effort will be lead to increased performance. Next is the performance to outcome. They believe that the probability that increase the performance will produce particular consequence. And last is balance believe value of consequences. Research provides support for the generation notion of expectancy theory, but not all of them is in the element. Expectancy theory suggests that managers must hire good employees, train them, provide many desirable rewards, and establish a good connection between them and reward them. Equity theory. Equity theory explores how individuals evaluate their inputs to the work setting compared with the outcomes they receive from this setting. To determine whether this relationship is fair, it is compared to other person input-outcome ratio. Individuals will try to adjust their own inputs and outcomes, or the inputs or outcomes of others, in order to achieve fairness. In integrative model of motivation, many of the motivation theories offer complementary explanation of individuals' motivation at work. Many of these theories also lead to similar conclusion about motivation. As you see, if the question is, will effort lead to performance? There are two possible answers, the yes or the no. No effort will be exerted, and for yes is effort may be exerted. Related theories and perspectives on motivation. In this topic, there are 4 main variables, and these are the goal theory, agency theory, intrinsic motivation, and creativity. Goal theory. Individuals in a company tend to work more diligently when they have goals. Goals that are more concrete, difficult, and specific will be more motivating. The research suggests that goals can be effective motivating factors. Goals have been used extensively in many performance evaluation systems. Agency theory. Agency theory is concerned with the diverse interests and goals that are held by the organization. It includes employees and managers. And the methods through which organization reward system can be used to align these diverse interests and goals. Those in control of modern corporation are not the principal owners of the organization but are instead agents that presumably represent the owner's interests. Intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is a motivation to perform in a job because it is enriching. Self-determination, skill utilization, and positive feelings about the job can enhance intrinsic motivation. Creative behaviors. Creative involves being innovative and providing value in a job. The characteristic of the work environment and specific jobs can be developed in a manner so that employees are more likely to exhibit creativity. For more further understanding with this topic, please watch this video.
Our motivations are unbelievably interesting. I mean, I find I've been working on this for a few years, and I just find the topic still so amazingly engaging and interesting. So I want to tell you about that. The science is really surprising. The science is a little bit freaky, okay? We are not as endlessly manipulable and as predictable as you would think. There's a whole set of unbelievably interesting studies. I want to give you two that call into question this idea that if you reward something, you get more of the behavior you want. If you punish something, you get less of it. So let's go from London to the mean streets of Cambridge, Massachusetts, in the northeastern part of the United States. And let's talk about a study done at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Here's what they did. They took a whole group of students, and they gave them a set of challenges. Things like memorizing strings of digits, solving word puzzles, other kinds of spatial puzzles, even physical tasks like throwing a ball through a hoop. Okay, they gave them these challenges, and they said to incentivize their performance, they gave them 3 levels of rewards. Okay? So if you did pretty well, you got a small monetary reward. If you did medium well, you got a medium monetary reward. And if you did really well, if you were one of the top performers, you got a large cash prize. Okay? We've seen this movie before. This is essentially a typical motivation scheme within organizations, right? We reward the very top performers, we ignore the low performers, and the other folks kind of in the middle, okay, you get a little bit. So what happens? They do the test, they have these incentives, here's what they found out. 1, as long as the task involved only mechanical skill, bonuses worked as they would be expected. The higher the pay, the better their performance. Okay, that makes sense. But here's what happens. But once the task called for even rudimentary cognitive skill, a larger reward led to poorer performance. Now, this is strange, right? A larger reward led to poorer performance? How can that possibly be? Now, what's interesting about this is that these folks here who did this are all economists, 2 at MIT, 1 at the University of Chicago, 1 at Carnegie Mellon, okay, the top tier of the economics profession. And they're reaching this conclusion that seems contrary to what a lot of us learned in economics, which is that the higher the reward, the better their performance. And they're saying that once you get above rudimentary cognitive skill, it's the other way around. Which seems like this kind of, the idea that these rewards don't work that way seems vaguely left-wing and socialist, doesn't it? It's kind of this kind of weird socialist conspiracy. For those of you who have those conspiracy theories, I want to point out the notoriously left-wing socialist group that financed the research, the Federal Reserve Bank. So this is the mainstream of the mainstream coming to a conclusion that's quite surprising, seems to defy the laws of behavioral physics. So this is strange. It's strange finding. So what do? They say, this is freaky. Let's go test it somewhere else. Maybe that $50 or $60 prize isn't sufficiently motivating for an MIT student, right? So let's go to a place where $50 is actually more significant relatively. Right? So let's take the experiment. We're going to go to Madurai, India, rural India, where $50, $60, whatever the number was, is actually a significant sum of money. So they replicated the experiment in India roughly as follows. Small rewards, the equivalent of 2 weeks' salary, small performance, low performance, 2-week salary, medium performance, about a month's salary, high performance, about 2 months' salary. Okay, so those are real good incentives. Okay, so you're going to get a different result here. Well, what happened, though, was that the people offered the medium reward did no better than the people offered the small reward. But this time around, the people offered the top reward. They did worst of all. Higher incentives led to worse performance. What's interesting about this is that it actually isn't all that anomalous. This has been replicated over and over and over again by psychologists, by some extent by sociologists, and by economists, over and over and over again. For simple, straightforward tasks, those kinds of incentives, if you do this, then you get that, they're great. For tasks that are algorithmic, set of rules where you have to just follow along and get a right answer, if-then rewards, carrots and sticks, outstanding. But when the task gets more complicated, when it requires some conceptual, creative thinking, those kinds of motivators demonstrably don't work.
To sum up, HR manager must determine the ability and motivation sides of performance. Next is needs-based theories suggest that not everyone would be motivated by the same set of needs at any one time. Process theories of motivation deals with how a person becomes motivated to perform in a certain way, and goal theory, agency theory, intrinsic motivation, and creativity aid in motivation. For my conclusion, employee motivation is very important for a successful organization. So the company should focus on it in order to stay competitive in the market and avoid some problems such as employee high turnover that will affect the business. Thus, effective motivational techniques should be practiced at the workplace. In applying the theories in plays an important role for managers or HR team to achieve their objectives and to increase the effectiveness of the employees. A manager or HR don't have to implement all the theories at once or to put all the employees under one standard. It has to be vary from person to person, and they should be aware of his or subordinate stage of motivation. That's all. Thank you for listening and have a great day.